In this video, we're going to take a look at the OR function in Excel. The OR function is a logical function just like the if and the and we're actually going to be doing the same problem that we did in the previous video where we looked at the AND function. I've got the same data here, but we're going to look at this problem from a different direction this time. So previously, we said that the person passed if they passed the homework and they passed the final test. So both of those had to be true, which means we had to use an AND function. If we look at this from the other direction, what we see is that now we're trying to find out if they failed or not. So how do you know if a person failed? Well, since they had to pass both of these, if they failed either one of these, then they failed the course. So if it's true that this is a failing grade, or if it's true that this is a failing grade, then they fail the course. So what we're looking at this time is we're checking to see if they failed, not if they passed. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look over here and see if they failed the homework. And again, we're going to use some extra columns off here to the side to make our life a little bit easier so we can do several small problems instead of one big one. So I want to know if they failed the homework. Well, George failed the homework if this number is less than this number up here, and that's an absolute cell reference. I need to press F4, put the dollar signs in, okay? And that says false because George did not fail the homework. 87 is a passing grade. Then let's tab over to column H, and I want to see if George failed the test. Well, George failed the test if his test score is less than the minimum required test score. And again, that's an absolute cell reference, so I got to put the dollar signs in by pressing function key F4. Okay? So now over here, I want to know if they failed either one. So equals, so I'm going to use the OR function here. Hang on. So I need to go to the Formulas tab and Logical, and I want to use the OR function. And the person, if they failed either one, they failed this or they failed this. So my first logical test is going to be this, and my second logical test is going to be this. So if G5 is true, then column I is true. Otherwise, if H5 is true, column I is true. And the only way I'm going to get a false here is if I've got a false over here and a false over here. Both of those are false. And just like the AND function, it keeps on opening up new space for me, but I quit after 2 because that's all I need. Okay. Now let's take all three of these formulas and let's go get our fill handle and drag that all the way down. And now, since we're looking to see if they failed, true means that they failed and false means that they passed. So it's exactly the opposite from the way it was last time. So George passed, John failed, Thomas failed, James passed, James failed, John Q passed, Andrew failed, and Martin passed. Okay? So now let's go over here, and now we can make a decision about what goes in this cell. If the value false is over here, we're going to put the value P. Otherwise, if the value true is over there, then we're going to put the letter F. Okay? So that's going to be another logical function. It sits on the Formulas tab in the Logical book, and we're going to use if. Okay? Now, if this logical test here is true, it means that they failed, right? So let's put an F down there. And otherwise, it means that they passed. And again, Excel is nice enough to put the quotation marks in for us. Otherwise, we'd get an error when we did that. So it looks like we're saying that George passed, and I think he did. And we'll center these before we copy them, and then the formatting will apply to everything below. So if we have true over here, it means the person failed. If we have true over here, they failed. If we have false over here, they passed. If they have true, they failed. If they have false, they passed. And it looks like everything is working correctly. Okay? So that's how you can use some additional cells over here on the right to make your life a little bit easier. Instead of combining all of this stuff into one formula, you divide up into 3 formulas, actually 4 by the time you get to the if function over here. And I think it's easier to do that way. But you don't have to do it that way. Okay? We can do the if function here, and I'm going to double click. And my if function, instead of looking at I5, I'm going to put my own OR function in here. Okay? So I'm going to do OR B5 is less than $B, $5. That means that he failed the homework. Or if C5 is less than $C, $5, then that means he failed the final test. So if either one of those is true, now my whole logical test is everything from here over to here. And you notice it says logical test down here. When I get to the end of this, probably when I get to the comma, it's probably going to move to value if true. So if we got true value over here, they failed. Otherwise, they passed. So F if true, P if false. And again, remember you have to put the quotation marks around those. Otherwise, you'll get an error message saying it doesn't recognize the name. So this is another way of doing it. It's probably a little bit more complicated to do this way, but the results are the same. If I copy this down the page, every single one of the values, I goofed. So let's see what I did wrong. If B5 is less than, not B5, B2, and if C5 is less than C2, now let's see if that works better. Okay, so we should have 4 people passing. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the people passing should be the ones that have a value false over here. So it's George, it is James, it is John Q, and it is Martin. They've all got false over here in the last one. Now we're not using this, we could just delete it because I built all that stuff into my formula. So there's the logical test that went in column G. Right here is the logical test that went in column H, and putting them together in the OR function gives me the value that went in column I. So either way is fine. I think if you're just learning Excel, this is probably the way that you want to do it. Break it down into small parts that are easy to solve and then put those pieces together.